Just over a week ago, Disney and Lucasfilm announced that Simon Kinberg will be writing and producing an upcoming Star Wars trilogy for the studio. Now, we don't know exactly what this will entail, whether it'll be episode 10, 11, and 12, or whether it'll be something else entirely as an offshoot. But one thing is for sure, Disney and Lucasfilm do not have a problem with announcing Star Wars projects for them to release. The issue they seem to have, though, is actually producing these, because today they've announced more projects than they've actually produced. In fact, they've actually canceled more projects than they've actually produced. And they don't even have a habit of canceling projects outright. They usually just let them kind of slowly die on the back burner, just kind of push it in the background, ignore it, and then eventually say like, oh yeah, we decided we're not going to do that thing that everyone else has since forgotten. And right now it's looking like we're going to get more of that, because apparently they had 1 or 2 movies that they were set to release in 2026. One of them was The Mandalorian and Grogu, and then a previously unnamed project that they were also going to release in 2026. But apparently that's also getting pushed in the back burner, with some speculating that it was probably going to be the upcoming Rey movie, since they can't seem to have any or hold on to any writers and directors for that movie. Disney removed Star Wars movie from 2026 slate, replaced by Ice Age 6. Disney has removed an untitled Star Wars film previously scheduled for December 18, 2026 from its release calendar. Ice Age 6 will move into its spot. And this article goes on to say that it thinks it might be the previously announced Rey movie, supposed to be directed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. That's the one that's getting pushed back since they just lost their writers for it, and they're getting a new writer team for that, or a new writer for that movie. But I'm thinking it was probably the James Mangold Star Wars project that they're going to be delaying, because that one was actually moved up in the release calendar, or in the Star Wars release calendar. It was basically kind of leapfrog the release for Rey. It was supposed to come out after the Rey movie, and then it was previously announced, I think within the last month or so, that it was actually going to be released before the Rey movie. So I think this is the one that they're going to be getting rid of. And that was a movie that was pretty much already moving forward and had stuff going on with it. So if that's a movie that they have to delay, then it's not really looking good for some of the other movies that have issues even getting off the ground. It wouldn't be the first time a potential entry in the beloved space opera franchise ended before it began. New installments from director Patty Jenkins, Marvel producer Kevin Feige, The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson, and Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have been announced over the years, but none ever came to fruition. And yeah, like I said, they announce projects all the time because it's good for them as a company. It kind of sparks interest in Star Wars, and it kind of gets investors rolling if they actually have Star Wars projects to look forward to. But it's looking like that's really not the case, but Disney still keeps doubling and tripling down on that. It's like, well, we have a lot of lull in what we're going to be doing. Let's just announce another project, because it costs absolutely nothing for them to announce a project, and it kind of gives them some positive buzz, or gives some buzz surrounding Star Wars in the meantime before they actually figure out like, oh, we either need to show something or announce another project. And it looks like Disney has just been taking the camp of let's just keep announcing projects but never actually do anything with them. And for a while that kind of worked, but I think at this point people are starting to grow wise to that method, and now people are actually hearing about any type of Star Wars announcement. They're like, okay, we've heard this before. Actually produce something if you're going to be doing something. Until then, we don't want to hear any more announcements, or at least a lot of people are thinking that way right now. The next Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, from director Jon Favreau, is scheduled to premiere in May 2026. Another untitled Star Wars film remains on the slate for December 17, 2027. Elsewhere in a galaxy far, far away, Lucasfilm revealed last week that X-Men alum Simon Kinberg would write and produce a new trilogy with Kennedy. Last week, Disney and 20th Century Animation announced that Ice Age 6 was in production, with series star Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Queen Latifah, Dennis Leary, and Simon Pegg returning to lend their voices to the film. So Ice Age 6 is replacing Star Wars at this point. And this is kind of an issue with Star Wars in general. Not that Ice Age isn't necessarily a good franchise or anything like that. It's just the fact that this is what Star Wars has been relegated to. It's no longer the huge box office juggernaut that it once was. Because I can think back in the days when I was a kid, where I grew up in the generation where we were first introduced to Star Wars. Maybe some people were introduced with the original trilogy, as in like the original releases of them. For me, I grew up at the time when the re-release was what pretty much got a lot of people within my generation into Star Wars. And then when that came out, everyone was just hyped. Everyone was talking about it. I still remember that. And then the prequel trilogy came out and that just took over everything. Suddenly, we're not really getting that feeling when it comes to Star Wars. It's literally just another trilogy. In fact, it's basically just a category on their streaming platform right now. And that's pretty much it. And it's kind of a sad state to see Star Wars basically just becoming subject to that, where it's no longer anything special. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that not only are the stuff that they're putting out of subpar quality, but they're announcing so much stuff out. I wouldn't necessarily say it's Star Wars fatigue, because I don't think people would be tired of Star Wars if everything they're putting out was just a banger. But that hasn't been the case. They just keep announcing stuff and putting out what little they are putting out, and it's of subpar quality. And if they actually want to save Star Wars, they need to do something big and quick. Or actually, maybe not even big and quick. That's probably not the best. I think the big thing they need to do quickly is pretty much just put off everything for the time being, or at least find something with more of a cohesive vision. This article from Screen Rant is kind of talking about the issues when it comes to Star Wars, and basically saying what a lot of people are already thinking, and that they need to have a cohesive vision behind it. And that's something that Star Trek did back in the 90s, where they released several movies and TV shows, all actually really beloved by the audience. And that was because they had a singular vision behind it. So far at Star Wars, they're supposed to have Kathleen Kennedy. She's supposed to head up the studio, so it's supposed to be her vision. Clearly, that's not the case. She's just an executive, so they relegated that position to Dave Filoni. But even then, he's not really the one calling the shots there. It's still Kathleen Kennedy calling the shots. Dave Filoni, for the most part, is just a figurehead. Maybe he might get a little bit more of his own input into things, but very much this is Kathleen Kennedy calling the shots. And the only reason Dave Filoni is actually there is basically because he'll do whatever she says at the studio. I mean, as we can see from the Acolyte, a lot of people are pointing out that that's peak what Kathleen Kennedy wanted to do with Star Wars. And everyone were trying to defend it by saying like, well, no, Dave Filoni signed off on this. Is like, yes, because he's just doing what he told like a lapdog. That's it. We don't have a singular vision for Star Wars right now over at Disney and Lucasfilm currently. And there's been an issue like that, why they have a trouble holding on to directors and writers, because everything is supposed to be built around this shared universe and everything's supposed to work together, but no one there actually knows what's going on or what the overall goal is. Pretty much you have one writing team working on one project, another writing team working on another project. No one's telling them how everything's going to fit together. Some people are thinking like, okay, we're doing the Rey movie, right? It's like, no, we're doing the Rey movie over here. And Kathleen Kennedy can't actually manage them together, or she refuses to manage them together. Say what you want about the MCU, but in the early days, that was kind of an example of how you were actually supposed to run things with Ike Perlmutter and Kevin Feige at the helm of everything like that, because they had an overall vision what they were wanting to do with this shared universe, and it was able to actually come together. Then when Ike Perlmutter left and it was just Kevin Feige, we kind of came across the same issues where we don't have that idea of what's going on with everything like that. So as a result, things just don't seem to work. And right now, Kevin Feige reportedly is trying to backpedal, kind of go back to the way things used to be within the MCU, where they actually had a cohesive idea of where this story is going. Star Wars, so far, even with Dave Filoni at the helm, doesn't actually have an idea what they're doing with this. And that's kind of why they're in their current state. So if you want to do something right for Star Wars and want to save it, what you need to do is actually have someone in charge there who has a vision over what they're doing for the whole of Star Wars. And you basically, Kathleen Kennedy, she probably needs to leave the studio, but if she's not going to leave the studio, basically just shut up and let the people who are responsible for the creative output of Star Wars do their job, because right now with the way things have been going for them, it's not working. And like I said before, I think people are getting wise to this shtick that they have, where they're just going to announce a project just to try to drum up some publicity for them before they just quietly cancel it and let it just die on the vine. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you think there's actually any hope for Star Wars to be saved at this point, at least under Disney, how it is right now? Or do you think it pretty much takes people at Lucasfilm right now to be gone from the company? Because I think there's a growing sentiment amongst the fan base that that's what's needed to save Lucasfilm and Star Wars. I'm kind of in that camp right now, but I'm open to be convinced otherwise right now. So comment below if you disagree with me on that one. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.